Please understand that video thumbnails are created to attract attention and may not always reflect the actual content. They are creative representations designed to engage viewers. We appreciate your understanding and hope you enjoy the video. While we strive to provide accurate and valuable information, this video is intended for reference and educational purposes only. The content reflects a collection of viewpoints and insights, selectively gathered from articles, social media posts, public forums, news sites, and online discussions. We do not claim absolute accuracy, nor is this video intended as an official or authoritative source. Viewers are encouraged to conduct their own research, compare information from multiple trusted sources, and approach all online content, including this one, with a critical and discerning mindset. This video does not intend to target or discredit any individual, organization, or nation. Its purpose is not to determine what is definitively right or wrong, but to encourage thoughtful reflection and highlight lessons we can learn from current events. Please watch with an open mind, reflect thoughtfully, and thank you for being part of this journey with us. The world stage is currently witnessing a multitude of significant events, and today we delve into a particularly complex issue. Immigrants aren't merely slipping through border fences these days. Their journeys involve traversing dense jungles, crossing vast oceans, and navigating entire continents, all with the singular aim of reaching the United States border. But there's an unexpected twist to this narrative. The primary nations sending undocumented migrants to the U.S. aren't necessarily the ones you might anticipate. Why are individuals undertaking such immense risks? They face perilous encounters with cartels, navigate across failing bridges, and even brave rivers teeming with crocodiles. What conditions back home are so dire that the seemingly sole recourse feels like illegally entering another nation? And here lies the kicker. A number of these migrants aren't arriving from neighboring countries. They are undertaking extensive global travel first, flying across the world before beginning their land journey. Prepare yourself, because the reality of where these undocumented immigrants truly originate might just astound you. The conclusions, providing a deeper insight, will be presented at the end of this video. Before we continue, if you find this content informative and value our analysis of global events, please consider supporting our channel. Subscribing and hitting the like button significantly helps us reach a wider audience and continue bringing you these important stories. We'd also love to hear from you. Drop a comment below, letting us know where you're watching from. Number 10. Mexico. These migrants are no longer just crawling under fences. They traverse scorching deserts, conceal themselves within tractor trailers, or scale imposing 30-foot steel barriers equipped with little more than hope. Behind the majority of these border crossings stands Mexico. No other nation even approaches this figure. Over 5.2 million undocumented immigrants residing in the U.S. today hail from Mexico alone. However, this narrative extends beyond individuals pursuing the American dream. It encompasses people fleeing for their very lives. Entire towns within Mexico have been overrun by criminal syndicates, the cartels. Extortion isn't merely a threat, it's a routine demand, practically a weekly bill. When faced with the stark choice of joining a gang, paying protection money to one, or facing death, numerous individuals opt to head north. Here's the truly jaw-dropping fact. Despite stricter U.S. border enforcement policies implemented in recent years, more than 740,000 Mexicans were still apprehended attempting to cross the border in the year 2023. That figure averages out to roughly 2,000 people per day. It compels one to ask, what circumstances south of the border are so unbearable that individuals would rather face potential death on the journey than endure another week in their homeland? Please remember to watch until the end, where we will consolidate these points and draw our conclusions. Number 9. Guatemala. One might assume that illegal immigration is predominantly driven by the search for employment opportunities. But consider this. What if the motivation stems from escaping conditions worse than mere poverty? Let's examine the situation in Guatemala. In 2023, nearly 300,000 Guatemalans were intercepted while attempting to cross into the United States. Among them were mothers with infants secured tightly to their backs. Others were unaccompanied adolescents, alone, frightened, and trekking thousands of miles. Why undertake such a perilous journey? Because in certain regions of Guatemala, children learn to evade gunfire before they even master reading. Criminal organizations hold sway over entire areas, where refusal to join their ranks can invite retribution against one's entire family. The police force, often perceived as corrupt. Job prospects, scarce. Personal safety, virtually non-existent. Yet here's the element that truly boggles the mind. Many migrants originating from Guatemala do not travel by air. They walk. Their path takes them through mountainous terrain, along routes controlled by cartels, and sometimes even through the notorious Darien Gap, one of the most lethal jungle corridors on the planet. And despite these overwhelming dangers, they persist. They continue their journey north because the reality they leave behind is often perceived as more terrifying than any obstacle that lies ahead. Number 8. Honduras. It often starts with an ominous knock on the door, late in the night. Then, silence. You refrain from answering, not because you're asleep, but because you understand the potential consequences if you do. This isn't paranoia. This is the lived reality in Honduras. You might be taken aback by the sheer number of migrants who aren't chasing the American dream, but are instead fleeing a nightmare. In Honduras, entire cities have transformed into battlegrounds. It ranks as one of the most hazardous nations in the Western Hemisphere, where criminal syndicates like MS-13 and Barrio 18 don't merely operate on the streets, they dominate them. Refusing to pay the demanded war tax could result in the loss of your home, or even worse, your child. In the year 2023 alone, over 200,000 Hondurans were apprehended at the U.S. border. This number only accounts for those who were caught. Thousands more successfully made it through, unseen, undocumented, and unheard. What's even more disturbing is that a significant portion of these individuals are families, parents carrying toddlers, teenagers journeying completely alone. Why? Because in vast parts of Honduras, governmental presence is non-existent. Police stations stand abandoned, schools have been commandeered by gangs, and in certain neighborhoods, these gangs enforce strict curfews. Violating them can be lethal. The journey itself offers no respite. These migrants trek through regions controlled by cartels, frequently lacking food, maps, or money. They find shelter on riverbanks, drink from questionable puddles, and constantly pray they avoid being kidnapped or trafficked along the arduous route. Some, tragically, do not survive. Now, ponder this. What must life be like if undertaking such a treacherous path feels safer than staying put? Number 7. El Salvador. It was once known as the land of volcanoes. Now, it's arguably a land characterized by fear, secrets, and a desperate struggle for survival. Because beneath the surface-level headlines, El Salvador continues to dispatch waves of undocumented migrants towards the United States. And the underlying reasons might not be what you immediately assume. Yes, President Bukele implemented a severe crackdown on gangs. Yes, homicide rates subsequently plummeted. However, what often remains unseen in the sanitized official reports is the collateral damage. Tens of thousands of individuals have been incarcerated without due process or trial. Families have been fractured, entire communities uprooted and displaced. And here's a crucial point. In the rural areas, the gangs haven't simply vanished. They've gone underground, operating with even greater ruthlessness than before. Over 150,000 Salvadorans were intercepted at the U.S. border in 2023. And many of these individuals aren't just escaping criminal activity. They are fleeing the very crackdown intended to stop it. You might be surprised to learn how many migrants express fear of both the criminals and the governmental forces. When trust in all institutions crumbles, people inevitably look north. That's the point when they commence their long walk. But here's the difficult truth. Migrants from El Salvador understand that the journey itself might prove fatal. And yet, they proceed anyway. Because back in their homeland, there often seems to be no discernible future, only pervasive fear. Number 6. Venezuela. First, the electricity failed. Then, the water supply ceased. Following that, Essential medicines vanished from shelves. And in Venezuela, that sequence marked only the beginning of the crisis. You would be astounded by the sheer number of individuals walking out of this nation on foot, crossing entire continents solely for the chance to survive. Not necessarily to thrive, not to pursue wealth, but simply to remain alive. Once the wealthiest nation in South America, Venezuela has descended into a profound humanitarian disaster. Hyperinflation has rendered the national currency practically worthless. Hospitals lack basic supplies like antibiotics. Store shelves stand barren. If you're fortunate, you might find rice. If not, you endure hunger. The United States is now directly witnessing the impact of this collapse. In the year 2023, over 334,000 Venezuelans were encountered at the southern border, a figure that is escalating at a rate faster than most comprehend. They aren't just slipping across undetected. Many are flying to other South American countries first, then undertaking the grueling hike through the Darien Gap, yes, that infamous jungle, and painstakingly making their way towards the U.S. But guess what? A substantial portion of these migrants belong to the middle class. Engineers, teachers, nurses, individuals who once possessed stable lives, salaries, and homes, all gone. And the situation grows even darker. Cartels and human traffickers frequently target Venezuelans. Why? Because they are often desperate, lacking proper documentation and any form of backup or support network. They become easy prey for extortion and exploitation. Some do not survive the arduous trek northward. Consider this question. What must life be like if that perilous journey feels preferable to staying home? Number 5. Nicaragua. The individuals arriving from this nation aren't fleeing gang violence. They aren't escaping drug wars. They are running from their own government. We are discussing Nicaragua. You would likely be shocked at the speed with which this country descended into authoritarian chaos. One moment it was conducting elections. The next, the president is imprisoning priests, prohibiting protests, and crushing any form of opposition with methods reminiscent of a dictatorship straight out of a history book. Over 164,000 Nicaraguans were intercepted at the U.S. border in 2023, a figure more than double that of the preceding year. And many of these individuals aren't just laborers. They are journalists, students, grandparents, even former police officers. Anyone who dared to voice dissent. What distinguishes Nicaragua? The silence. You won't see extensive coverage of this on mainstream television. There are no major headlines. But behind closed doors, the Ortega regime is systematically suffocating its populace. Citizens are being watched, threatened, and subjected to forced disappearances. For those who remain, life feels like confinement within a cage, never knowing when the door might slam shut permanently. So, they flee. Quietly. Quiet like those who fear being heard. Quiet like individuals who've had to suppress their voices, and sometimes mourn their friends. Number 4. Colombia. Not so long ago, this nation was hailed as a success story, a comeback narrative. It attracted tourists, engaged in peace negotiations, and showed signs of progress. However, if you look beneath that veneer, you'll uncover a mounting crisis, one that is silently compelling thousands to journey towards the U.S. border. We're talking about Colombia. You would be surprised to learn that over 130,000 Colombians were encountered at the southern border in 2023. This number has tripled since 2021. But here's the twist. The surge isn't directly due to warfare. It's because the promised peace never fully materialized. Yes, the FARC rebels laid down their weapons, but dozens of splinter guerrilla factions, powerful cartels, and various criminal syndicates promptly stepped into the resulting power vacuum. Entire rural regions remain under the dominion of these armed groups. Coca production has reached levels higher than ever before. Young people in impoverished areas are being coerced into a grim choice: join the ranks of these groups or flee. Yet the crisis doesn't end there. Rampant inflation is devastating families. Food prices have skyrocketed. Even within major cities like Medellin and Cali, members of the middle class are increasingly falling into poverty. Many are liquidating all their possessions just to finance the start of their northward journey on foot. And the path they undertake? Brutal. They cross into Panama, then navigate through the deadly Darien Gap. Yes, that same perilous jungle. A place characterized by mudslides, venomous snakes, predatory bandits, and ever-present death. It doesn't seem logical, does it? Why endure such horrors? Because for many, what lies behind them feels even worse. Number 3. Ecuador. You've heard about nations collapsing due to war, corruption, or dictatorships. But this particular country is being torn apart by something newer, something often termed narco-chaos. We are referring to Ecuador. You would likely be stunned to discover that in 2023 alone, over 100,000 Ecuadorians were apprehended at the U.S. border. This represents a nation whose citizens were previously among the least likely to migrate illegally. No one anticipated this surge. But guess what? The situation changed rapidly. In just 2 years, Ecuador transformed from a relatively stable and peaceful nation into a fierce cartel battleground. Drug lords now effectively control the ports. Prisons have become veritable war zones. Entire cities feel like they are under siege. In January 2024, gangs even staged a live takeover of a television station during a broadcast. That's the extent of the deterioration. While the escalating violence captures headlines, what often goes unnoticed is the concurrent economic collapse. Unemployment is soaring, prices are rising relentlessly, and people are afraid to venture out of their homes, yet equally terrified to remain within them. So, they run. Young couples, teachers, teenagers, even police officers. They journey north through Colombia, into Panama, and straight into the Darien Gap. Yes, once again, that notorious jungle. Now here's the real shocker. Ecuadorians were once considered among the least probable groups to undertake illegal migration. Now they constitute one of the fastest-growing demographics at the U.S. border. When peace evaporates quickly, people vanish even faster. Number 2. Haiti. There's societal collapse, and then there's the situation unfolding in Haiti. This isn't merely a nation in crisis. It's a country where the government has effectively ceased to exist, where the rule of law is non-existent, and where gangs wield power with absolute impunity and unchecked authority. In Port-au-Prince, the capital city, it's not the police who maintain order. It's armed militias. Entire districts are under the thumb of gang leaders who function like warlords. They control the streets, they manage the ports, they've overtaken police stations. In some regions, they've even seized control of vital food shipments, dictating who eats and who starves. You'd be shocked by the depth of this chaos. Schools remain permanently shuttered. Hospitals have been looted or simply abandoned. Even the United Nations has drastically reduced its operations, and the majority of aid workers have been compelled to flee for their own safety. The individuals left behind, ordinary Haitians, find themselves trapped between relentless violence, starvation, and utter hopelessness. In 2023 alone, more than 126,000 Haitian migrants were encountered at the U.S. border. What makes their journey even more harrowing is the fact that Haiti shares no land border with the United States. Most of these individuals first cross into South America, entering countries such as Brazil and Chile. From there, they embark on a trek spanning thousands of miles northward, traversing jungles, navigating cartel-controlled zones, and enduring the perils of the Darien Gap, one of the most treacherous migration corridors on Earth. Some had already been residing abroad, but as anti-immigrant sentiment intensifies in their host countries, they've been pushed out yet again, forced to abandon whatever small measure of stability they had managed to achieve. So, they keep moving forward. Because returning to Haiti? That's simply not an option. Not when your former neighborhood no longer exists. Not when your cousin was kidnapped for ransom. Not when your only choice feels like flight or death. Number 1. China. They were once viewed as the unlikeliest of border crossers. Quiet, distant, seemingly absent from these types of migration narratives. But now, they are arriving in record numbers. Through jungles, across rivers, concealed in stash houses, side by side with desperate migrants from every corner of the globe. In the year 2023 alone, over 24,000 Chinese nationals were apprehended at the U.S. southern border. That figure might not initially seem enormous, until you realize it represents more than 10 times the number recorded just a few years prior. And this trend shows no signs of abating. So, what is driving them out? It's not solely about political censorship or the fear of speaking freely. It's not even just about escaping the grasp of the Chinese Communist Party. The issue runs deeper. What is unfolding in China right now is an unraveling of the future itself. Youth unemployment has surged past 20%, leaving an entire generation without work, without purpose, and without hope. The real estate market, once considered the bedrock of wealth in China, is collapsing under the weight of massive debt. Entire cities are filled with empty apartment towers, monuments built on speculation, now decaying in silence. Socially, the constraints are tightening. Surveillance cameras monitor every step. Internet posts are meticulously tracked. Bank transactions are flagged. People are disappearing, sometimes for tweets, sometimes for no discernible reason at all. You'd be shocked at how they reach the U.S. border. Many fly into Ecuador, which conveniently offers visa-free entry to Chinese citizens. From that point, they commence the brutal journey north, through Colombia, into the treacherous Darien Gap, and finally, navigating cartel-run smuggling routes across Central America. This isn't some minor fringe trend. These are engineers, teachers, shop owners, individuals who once believed they had a future in China. Now they are exchanging middle-class stability for a perilous jungle path and the mere possibility of breathing free air. And here's the detail that should make everyone pause and reflect. When citizens of the world's second-largest economy are risking death by snakebite, robbery, or drowning just to escape their own country, what does that signal about the times to come? This isn't just a story about an immigration wave. It's a stark warning. And it's a warning the world cannot afford to disregard. We are not merely observing migration. We are witnessing the tangible consequences of global instability. People are arriving from failed states like Haiti, from authoritarian strongholds like China, from narco-controlled zones like Ecuador, and from fractured economies like Venezuela. They are all walking the same perilous path, heading straight for the U.S. border. This isn't just about illegal immigration. It's about widespread collapse, political pressure, economic desperation, and social disintegration on a scale the world hasn't witnessed in decades. Thank you for watching this analysis. If you found this video insightful and it opened your eyes to the complex realities behind the headlines, please subscribe to our channel, like this video, and share it with others who might still view this issue solely through the lens of job seeking. The truth is far more complex, and we've only begun to explore its depths. Let us know your thoughts and where you're watching from in the comments below.